Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing how and when to discuss the breakup. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing how and when to discuss the breakup. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you might be wondering how and when to discuss the breakup with your ex. In today's podcast, I'll be making 3 suggestions of when I believe you should do this. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is before the breakup is finalised. So in my opinion, a breakup taking place is not the same moment that it's finalised. There is a difference between the soon-to-be dumper saying they want to end the relationship and the dust settling. And in my opinion, it's between this time that point number 1 fits in. You need to be getting your point across as the soon-to-be dumpee. You need to be saying your point of view, and if you don't want the relationship to end, you need to be representing yourself in a way where your soon-to-be ex may change their mind there and then. And in my opinion, if you can do this, then you've not actually even broken up. You've just had a disagreement, an argument, you've had a heart-to-heart. If you can stop the breakup being finalised, if the dust hasn't yet settled, you can prevent the breakup taking place. So point number 1 is so important, because when we're asking the question, how and when to discuss the breakup, the first moment is at this very time. You need to be getting across your point of view. You need to be apologising if you have something to apologise for. You need to be asking why your soon-to-be dumper is making this decision. Lots of dumpees feel blindsided. Lots of dumpees don't see this coming. Lots of dumpees are very, very shocked to hear that their now ex actually wants to end this relationship. So you need to be getting that across. Now look, emotions run high during a breakup. There are probably going to be tears. There are probably going to be heightened emotions which equate to words being said between you both, which ordinarily you probably wouldn't want to get to that stage. But this is a breakup. A breakup is emotional. And when people ask me, can I get my ex back? I was really emotional during the breakup. Of course you stand a chance of getting your ex back at that time. And it's so sad, but some people are made to feel that they've blown their opportunity straight away. That is not the case. When I suggest people implement my version of a no contact rule, when I suggest people move forward on their own journey, when I suggest people don't chase their ex, don't text them, don't beg, plead and ask what is going on, I'm talking about after the dust has settled. Now look, it's probably not the best position to be begging and pleading at any stage, but emotions are going to be heightened at the time of a breakup, and anything that is said during this moment is likely to be understood as the situation that it is. So you need, before things are finalised, before the phone goes down, before the last text message is sent and the conversation ends, before your soon-to-be ex walks out the door and drives off, you need to be saying your piece. You need to be asking the questions. You need to be trying to sort this out if you can. Like I said, if you have something to apologise for, make sure you apologise. Ask your ex why they feel this way. Ask your ex if there is a way that things can be sorted out. Could you do something which you haven't been? Could you stop doing something that you have been? All of these things and more can and should be said before the breakup is finalised. Don't be shy during this time. Don't be scared during this time. This is your moment, because I would say that even if your ex has said, look, I want to end this relationship, or I'm breaking up with you, or it's over, if they've said this and they're still in front of you, if they've typed this in a text, if they've called you and just verbally said those words, I don't believe it's over until the conversation has ended, until that call ends, until the last text message has been sent, until they walk out the door. So my belief is this is still the breakup process. There is still a chance to try and reconcile and smooth things over before things actually officially end. Because this could be a really huge misunderstanding. This could be something which is ongoing, but you can provide reassurances that you can make positive change. So when we ask how and when to discuss the breakup, I honestly believe your first opportunity to do this is actually at the time of a breakup, before it is finalised. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about how and when to discuss the breakup. And point number 2 is if they bring it up. So now we're moving forward from the time the breakup has settled. The situation is now, you are clearly the dumpee, they are clearly the dumper. Maybe you've been apart days, maybe it's weeks, maybe it's months, maybe it's even years. As you know, at this stage I suggest you as a dumpee implement my version of the no contact rule. And if you want to learn more about that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out my playlist entitled The No Contact Rule. You might actually want additional support going through breakup recovery and trying to increase the chance of getting your ex back. And if you would like this, then maybe you would like to have me as your coach, where I become not just your coach, but your teammate as well. And this is done via my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your specific unique situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about my audio coaching service and how I can support you moving forward. But as I'm saying, point number 2 is if they bring it up. So you've been apart now for potentially days, weeks, months, maybe years. You've implemented my version of a no contact rule. Maybe you've had audio coaching with me. You're living your life in the way that we have discussed. And then all of a sudden you receive contact from your ex. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, what does this mean? And you read the text and you think, this is a bit surprising. They're just kind of saying, hi, how are you? And I haven't even spoke to them in 9 months. That's a bit of a random message. It's a bit breadcrumby to me. Well, anybody who knows my beliefs, I believe that you can grow the largest tree from the smallest acorn. Now, this doesn't always mean that you're going to get your ex back. There's no guaranteed way of doing so. But I certainly believe that you can grow breadcrumbs. And I certainly believe that when dumpers reach out, they very rarely say, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you, let's get back together. That is very rarely their first message. It's more likely to be an indirect, direct approach. It's more likely to be something which seems like nothing, or something which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to you. It could be as basic as I've just suggested, as asking, hi, how are you? So, at this moment in time, do you bring up the breakup? Absolutely not. I strongly suggest that if you receive contact from your ex, you keep things happy, carefree, and fun. You don't mention the breakup. You don't mention dating. You don't mention relationships. And you don't quiz your ex in any way at all. So, at what stage could you potentially discuss the breakup? How and when could you do it at this stage? And this is where point number 2 comes in. If they bring it up. So, your ex asks, how are you? You respond, a bit surprised, but they've messaged, but you respond and say, yeah, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. I've done this, this, and this recently. How are you? And then they respond, and to your surprise, they then just come into it and say, look, can we talk about the breakup? Now, I've kind of sped things up here. This is very, very unlikely to be the second message you receive from your ex. The reality is, it's probably going to be much further down the line. But for the purpose of this podcast and for the very occasional situations that it does happen this quickly, let's just speed things along and say that the second message that your ex actually sends you is them wanting to discuss the breakup. At this stage, you can absolutely discuss the breakup because you've not brought it up. So as a dumpee, you have not brought things to the table, you're not bringing stress, you're not bringing drama, you're not quizzing your ex, you're not giving them ultimatums. You was keeping things positive, you responded in a nice way, asked a question, and then they have brought up the breakup. So, like I said, this is more likely to be much further down the line, but if and when it happens, if they bring it up, if the dumper brings up the breakup, this is when you, as a dumpee, can certainly start discussing the breakup. So when we're asking how and when to discuss the breakup, I honestly believe it's so crucial that the dumper brings it up in the vast majority of instances. They bring the subject up, therefore they are opening the door for you to have this discussion. I would suggest trying to keep things as calm and relaxed as possible. So whatever they say, try to keep a stable mindset. Maybe this means if it's via message but you can't respond for a little while because you're trying to compose yourself. Maybe you're shocked, maybe you're upset, maybe you're frustrated. But getting into an argument, getting into drama is not going to help you. However, if things are relatively calm, you can, at this stage, start to ask your own questions and start to get yourself in a situation where things can be ironed out. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about how and when to discuss the breakup. And point number 3 is when new, strong foundations have been built. So if you've gone through point number 1 and point number 2 and still there is no breakup discussion, you've been broken up with for a fairly long time potentially, maybe your ex has now reached out to you, but they have not brought up the breakup. At what stage, if ever, can you do this? And I would say you need to be using your own common sense. You need to be really thinking to yourself, do we now have strong foundations? Because before, unfortunately, your foundations were brittle. The relationship ended. That relationship is over. If you are communicating again, if you are building a new connection, if you are starting to feel the romance and the butterflies in your tummy, you're feeling all excited, this is wonderful news. But you need to be really considering, is it enough? Because if you bring up the breakup, things can get rocky. And if you're not built on strong foundations, unfortunately, this new fledgling connection will fall down. So, my general advice is, don't bring up the breakup until and if your ex does. However, if you have things that you really need to discuss, if you have things which are burning in your mind, if you have things which are absolutely necessary potentially, then you need to do this at some stage, else you are not going to feel confident and comfortable moving forward. However, I really suggest you wait until you believe that there are new, strong foundations in your connection, and that you also have a very stable mindset and can stay happy, carefree and fun, irrespective of what your ex might say to you in this situation, because you might try to bring up the breakup and they might come across to you in a very negative way. Maybe for the first time since you've reconnected, maybe since you've reconnected everything has been brilliant. You bring up a breakup and they start to seem awkward and negative. That can automatically make you want to either go into your shell or maybe fire something back. None of these things are going to help you. You know, if you hear something negative from your ex, if you receive something negative from your ex, if it feels awkward, if it's low energy, then you need to be remaining positive, stable-minded, happy, carefree and fun as much as you can. I appreciate this could be a very difficult subject. There are things that you feel that probably need to be said or answered. However, getting into drama, getting into an upsetting situation, getting into an argument is not going to help you reconnect. It's not going to help you feel better about things if you have a discussion which quickly turns into an argument and then you're back to square one, but probably even worse, because the more breakups you have, the less likely you are to get back together. A couple who have broke up once are more likely to get back together compared to a couple who have broken up 6 times already. You know, every time you break up, it becomes harder. Maybe you know somebody who has got married 2 or 3 times to the same person and split up and they keep getting back together, but there will be a limit. You know, there is always a limit to that time. And I would say that the more breakups you have, the harder it is to reconnect. So if you have a fledgling new connection with your ex, do you really want to risk breaking this connection by bringing up the breakup too soon? I would say take your time, think about it clearly and logically, and when there is a new strong foundation that seems to be built around you, maybe tentatively, politely, respectfully and calmly, you can start to bring up the breakup. However, I would always say in general, if you can wait for your ex to bring this up, you are in a better position. Now, of course, there's no guarantee that they ever will, and you might feel that you need certain answers to move forward, and therefore, you might need to bring the breakup up. But please be careful, and please make sure everything feels very sound and sturdy, and you're prepared for whatever your ex might react with once you try to bring it up. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.